Well, hello, hello, hello. Happy New Year, ladies and gentlemen. I am your beloved Count Olaf. No, I'm kidding. I'm just promoting that for the series that is coming up, which looks pretty awesome. But we'll get into that in another episode. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to the new year. This is, of course, Change the F Up, the only place where the format is never the same. Just deal with it, okay? Of course, I am your humble and online host, the one and only Nate the Effing Great, joined here by my lovely and very talented host, the lovely VicTori Belle. How are you?
I'm good. Happy New Year.
We are starting off strong. Last year, we kind of ended on a little bit of a political sour note, but this year, we are starting on a bit of more of a positive note. And how can we do that? Maybe let's talk about some of the things that were actually awesome, like when we were growing up. So I thought, you know what? Let's just talk about TV shows that we remember growing up as kids. So we actually have about 5 shows each, you guys. Shows that we remembered and that were awesome and probably set the bar when we were kids, and now you compare them to nowadays. Well, I'm not going to get into that because we'll probably get more into that in a little bit. So before we get into our top 5, a couple of honorable mentions that we have. I actually have 2, as well as VicTori Belle. I believe that you have 2 as well. I actually picked Samurai Jack as well as Pokemon. Now, Samurai Jack I really kind of got into because of the sort of Japanese culture that it had, and having just this samurai come in the futuristic aspect. And I actually just watched an episode of Samurai Jack last night where it was Jack versus Aku, and they were just doing like a bare, I guess you could say bare knuckle fighting, where they didn't have any weapons, they didn't use any magic or anything like that. But in the end, Aku decided to cheat, and it just turned out to be one of the most funniest episodes and funniest duels I've ever seen. So definitely Samurai Jack is one of those very entertaining, and it definitely helps you appreciate, I should say, the animation aspect. And the other one, of course, being Pokemon. Let's just say this. I got into Series 1 and Series 2, and that's as far as I will go, because Series 3 and onward, oh my gosh, there's too many Pokemon that I can actually name. And now they're doing the Sun version now, which is like the Aloha version. Apparently Pokemon's trying to capitalize on Moana. Great job, you guys. But in all honesty, I looked at these Pokemon evolved forms, and I'm like, okay, this is great. Well, we were just talking about during the show that I'll probably go on to some kind of rant about this, that are just these guys running out of ideas or something like that. It's like, oh, let's do a chandelier, let's do a gun, let's do a stick. Why don't we make a tree? Great. So you guys are running out of that many ideas. We're just going to pick up the first thing that we see. Oh, let's do a pencil Pokemon. We'll call him Pensymon or something like that. I don't know. Just get more creative. That's what made me fall in love with Pokemon in the first place. But instead, you just like, oh, let's just make them all like, like real life stuff. How about just a plain old rock? Okay, that's called a shuckle, and that thing was the worst thing I had ever seen. So, yeah. Sorry, I just had to get that off. So, Tori, you want to give your honorable mentions before I go into another tangent?
I was just going to add to your Pokemon thing. It kind of stinks because I too only watched Pokemon for probably like the first 3 seasons or something until, like, the Pokemon that weren't supposed to evolve started to evolve. Like Onix had an evolution and stuff, and then I was like, well, now I'm confused. I can't follow. And then Eevee got like 17. I was like, okay, I can't follow at all. I'm lost. I'm the lost person of Pokemon. But I'm sad because Pokemon Go, I just got back into it because I guess they released more Pokemon, and I don't know some of the Pokemon. So I'm like, oh no, I can't play Pokemon Go soon because I don't know these Pokemon. They make me nervous. So
I played.
Who are you?
I played like 3 minutes of Pokemon Go, and I was just like, okay, this is not working for me. So I'm done. So for those of you that are great Pokemon avid goers, please be respectful of the drivers and watch where you're going. And for those of you that gave up on it like I did, more power to us. Anyway, I'm going back off on a tangent.
All right, no more talking about Pokemon, I guess.
Yay.
But my honorable mentions are SpongeBob SquarePants, which I think it's still on TV, and I know it's holding like a record for like longest times almost for a kids show. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think Simpsons might have it, but I think it holds some sort of record. I could have looked that up, but I decided to be lazy and not to do that. And then my other honorable mention is Invader Zim. And hilariously gross show that was super entertaining, and my favorite character was Gur, his little robot that turned into a robot dog.
Him and his little him and Waffles and him and his little doom 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 song or whatever. Oh man. Doom 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 doom. Yeah, Gur, and it's just always funny when you hear Zim just yell Gur. It's like, well, Gur's in trouble again, but it's still funny. Oh man! So we are, of course, like I said, we're going to be counting some of our 5 childhood memories as far as shows go. So I think that's only fair that Chivalry goes first. So VicTori, Belle, if you would mind, what was one of your TV shows growing up?
Well, I'm going to count down from 5, and my 5th pick was Hey Arnold. I almost wanted to say, like, Hey Arnold!
Football head.
I loved it. I loved Football Head. It was for some reason, I don't know, maybe it's because Helga just kept making statues out of gum and used pieces of disgustingness, or the guy who would come up behind her and...
Oh, that guy. Oh, my gosh.
She just punches him in the face. I don't know why I love that show that much, but it's just a city kid doing his thing. He wasn't adopted, he lived with his grandparents, right? But
right, yeah.
they just always got into some sort of city trouble, and just, I think because the bad guy was this girl who was just secretly in love with a boy, and the whole, like, when you're a child, if you liked somebody, you were mean. I think it just was super entertaining. It was just hilarious, and just always daydreamed. The bad guy was my favorite, I guess, because Arnold was kind of lame, I feel. Like, I don't really remember him that much. I remember Gerald, his friend, like, being hilarious and a good singer and stuff. But, yeah, I remember Helga the best. And it was just entertaining. Good show. And I think I mentioned this before the show, but I was definitely a Nickelodeon kid. I watched some Fox Kids, but Nickelodeon was kind of my go-to station. It was always on in my house.
Yeah, I will agree that there were a lot of Nickelodeon shows that I actually enjoyed, but I think as time went on, some of them kind of got a little more ridiculous, I guess you could say. I mean, there's some, TV shows that I still remember. They're like, Fairly Odd Parents, or that was where they introduced a lot of they introduced a lot of great shows like Dora the Explorer. I remember growing up as a little kid, and Blue's Clues was just it was just an awesome.
Yeah.
Fun interactive show.
Like preteen / like when you're a little too old for Blue's Clues and Dora the Explorer, those are my choices. We're in between of still wanting to watch cartoons and not wanting to watch real life people yet, which a lot of people love the Disney Channel, but it was so real life that I couldn't handle it at that age.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to watch another kid doing these cool things. I want a cartoon doing cool things. So that was my number 5. What's your number 5?
Well, speaking of cool things, you can't get any more cooler than the modern day Three Stooges. I'm talking, of course, Cartoon Network's own Ed, and Eddie. Oh, man. These 3 kids just basically trying to get through shenanigans in everyday life. One that's just completely dumb as a sack of potatoes. One that was just an ingenious, smart kid. And then there was always the scamster in Eddie, who's the short one and always trying to look cool and look righteous. Loved the series. Loved every single thing about it. It really kind of introduced me into a lot of, adult humor as well. There was a lot of moments where they're just breaking the fourth wall, where Ed will just say a line of like, "Don't touch that dial, folks," or "Oh, that makes for quality TV, Eddie." And I'm just like, "Oh man, what is he talking about?" As a kid, I'm like, "What is this?" And now as an adult, I'm like, "Oh, he's breaking the fourth wall." So he's got a little bit of Deadpool in him. I love it. And for some reason, when they did the whole Ed and Eddie's Big Picture Show movie, the one spot on there that I still can't help but laugh at was the sextant joke. I don't know why. They just found a way to just keep roping me in, and every single time Ed would just start laughing at the word sextant, I had no choice but to laugh as well. And I'm just like, why is this funny? Okay, it's Ed, Edd and Eddy. Never mind. There's no point in me denying that this is just a funny show. So I definitely would recommend Ed, Edd and Eddy in the major run. I would love to see them have maybe one more movie kind of to capitalize off the ending that they had for the movie that they did, but I think it's going to take a lot of, convincing to get the network to say, hey, let us do one more movie, or who knows, maybe they'll actually do it as a big picture. I don't know. I think it could go just maybe one more movie, and then I could be like, okay, I'm happy with how it ended, but I don't know. We'll have to kind of wait and see how things go.
Live action Ed, Edd and Eddy. They're just trying to make money. That's all they ever tried to do.
Hey, they did it in a major stupid way, but then again, Three Stooges kind of were the same way, where they just all they did was just stupid shenanigans, and people won them over, and they're just like, "Oh, I like this. This is funny. This is funny yet stupid. I love it." All right, so what is your number 4 pick?
My number 4, another Nickelodeon show, is Rocket Power. This show was too cool. It made me want to do everything that they did. I wanted to scooter, I wanted to skateboard, I wanted to surf, given I'm not near the ocean at all. That wasn't going to happen. I did try to skateboard in a pool, but I was not good at any of that stuff. But watching these kids, rock out and surf and be just gnarly. I wanted to say gnarly. I'm allowed to say that right now. Gnarly. It's gnarly. And the theme was so fun. Here comes Rocket Power. It was just whoa! They're doing such cool things. They're cool kids. They ride their bikes. They do flips and stuff. And I don't know. Again, I'm actually trying to remember the concepts of some of these shows and why I like them. And when you were talking about Ed, Edd and Eddy, I was like, oh yeah, they always tried to get money, and then they never ended up making money. That was the funny thing about it for me. And I'm trying to think of Rocket Power. I guess they were just trying to get through life and be cool, semi-pro athletes? Question mark? I don't know. Was that you watched it, right?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I remember. What was it? Raymundo, who was like.
Wiggity.
Yep. It was there was Raymundo. Who was the chef guy who always.
Yeah.
It's like the ancient Hawaiian state. I'm just like, oh man, this is gonna be one of those shows. Yeah. I love it. and introduced to the word shubi. Oh my gosh, that word just made the whole series just click for me. I'm just like, oh, you got to at least hear the word shubi once in this episode. Yep, there it is. I love it. This is an episode.
They were just so cool, and I mean, you just wanted to be them. So that's the point. You wanted to be cool, I guess. I'm not. But
I was actually going to say, it's funny you mentioned earlier that you wanted to go scootering, skateboarding, rollerblading, surfing. Don't you and Deadger's Dark Coffin Classics, the guys that we love so much, aren't you guys going to be doing a little bit of traveling this year? And isn't one of them possibly in Los Angeles or in the California area?
I'm not for sure. Do you know something that I don't know?
I don't know. I don't know. I thought I heard Dedgar mention that there were some spots that he was looking into, and I'm thinking, well, if they're going to California and if VicTori Belle's going to go there, then you might just get the chance to see her flop and flail all over the surfing deal. Not that I'm saying I don't have faith in you. I'm just saying I want to see that because I think that'd be funny.
I'm actually quite athletic. I did surf. It was fun. I mean, given I was in Hawaii and it was surfing lessons, and I was drunk, so that was probably a problem. But it was really funny. Me and my friends, we went down. We were waiting on our surf lesson, and we're like, oh, what should we do while we wait? And oh, maybe we'll just take a few shots or something. And it ended up being more than a few. And my friend was like, Tori, are we good? And I'm like, you know what? We're going to be great. It's going to be so much fun. And it ended up kind of being a private lesson because no one else showed up. So I just felt bad for our teacher having to deal with us. But we did it. We were able to surf. And I mean, I crashed a few times, but once you hit that ocean water, you're kind of all right, I'm not. And by drunk, I mean we're tipsy, not disgusting. What's going on? More tipsy than I should have been. but it was great. It was a lot of fun. I don't know how good I would